it's so wild and peaceful, and I like that. I feel part of it. I know I grew up working on the bog and in the hayfield, and I know this place in my heart, and I know the way people talk, and I understand how they communicate, and I know what they're saying when they're saying nothing. There's can be a lot of silence in the way people talk. You know, I love that I've, you know, now work closely with people from other cultures who are more, you know, say what you mean. Half the time I don't know what I mean. I'm very fluid. I bend around things. It's just my personality. And I'm coming from here, I think, too. People are... It's a post-colonial... There's definitely a post-colonial way of communicating. It's more negotiation and feeling maybe you don't have a lot of power, but you're always just shifting around what is kind of non-committally working out what is the situation, what do you mean, what's the best thing, keep all your options open. It's an old-fashioned thing. I think it's gone now. But I would understand it, because I'm a bit like that myself, and it comes from here. It comes from where I grew up.
Jesus, where I grew up, 3 miles outside Tubbercurry in County Sligo, the rule was, shut up. Don't be letting on. Don't be telling people your business. Yes, particularly if it was good news. Do you want people knowing you won that medal in the Cayley dancing? Do you want them thinking that you think you're great? Do you remember? Back then, when somebody said, aren't you great? They didn't mean, aren't you great? They meant, aren't you right, old gobshite?
I always wanted to be an entertainer. And I remember once it was one of my first times on stage, there was a concert in the local parish hall. And it was actually the adults doing the concert. And I was sitting in the audience going, I have to get up there. I have to do something. So I just went round to the room that was backstage and I went, can I do a song? I didn't even think, what would I do? I just thought, I'm going to get up, because I was always singing. But the only full song I knew was Ave Maria. The bells of the Angelus are calling to pray, in sweet tones announcing the sacred Ave. Ave. I got up and sang that. I always remember standing on that stage, and they had a light bulb with a bit of tin behind it to give the light reflecting on the stage, and they just had ordinary household curtains, long household curtains as the curtains for the concert, and those curtains parted, and then there was the whole parish squashed in the room, and I sang that song. And I remember afterwards my mother went, would you not learn a proper song?
Well, nobody's looking at you, nobody's giving you the second glance, nobody's fantasizing about what's under your big elasticated pants. Life's perfectly alright with me, but I do find it an irony, 'cause I never felt so hot in my life.
So tell us a bit that speech that you've been rehearsing there.
It's the end of the show, and it's kind of just a summation. So it's just saying, this is the most powerful time in life. This is the best time of a woman's life, isn't it, ladies? Want to bring everybody together and really embracing the positivity of being this age. And what is the big thing that you know a thing about life at this age? That you know who you are, that you know what you want, that you're going to have fun figuring out how you're going to get it.
I'll tell you why. Because you know who you are, you know what you want, you're going to have a bit of fun getting it, you've been taught by the best teacher experience. I think it's the most powerful time of a woman's life, and we're very lucky the age we live in, because I look back at former generations and I think middle-aged women were very much sidelined. And if you look back even further and you read about the history of Europe and the witch burnings, Jesus, most of the women they were burning were menopause women. It was like they looked at them and they went, oh, they've had their children. They've raised their children. They now have confidence, wisdom, and power, and the space to share it. Should we just set fire to it? Nobody is sidelining us now. Nobody's trying to set fire to us. Nobody is accusing us of being witches. So now is the time to get up on the broomstick of your full potential and fly into the future of your best self. Carpe diem, ladies. Carpe diem.
I do the show where I talk about a thing that my mother actually said to me, which was, I went to visit her and she said, "Now Anne, don't take this the wrong way, but have you lost all interest in the way you look?" Oh my God, it's so outrageous.
No, it'd be outrageous if anyone else said it to you, but when your mammy says it to you, it's the law.
Yeah, it's a bit mean, isn't it? Although I kind of understand where she's coming from, because my niece, like, when I was a student, I always wore really pretty, obviously second-hand clothes, and always quite baggy. I was into combats and stuff. And now that I see my niece is gone, she's extreme second-hand look. I kind of look at her and go, "Should not dress a bit smarter." I mean, I you know.
So you're saying that there's a generational muscle. As you get older, you become the next generation?
Absolutely, I can really see my mum's point of view, you know.
Yeah, but she only said that to you about clothes a couple of years ago.
I don't know. This thing has happened to me in the last couple of years. I call it little old lady syndrome. When I am talking to young people now, I start using expressions that I never used before in my whole life. They're like things my grandmother would have said. They're chatting away and I find myself going, "Oh, isn't that gas?" Well, you know, please God, that to work out. But you know what? I light a candle for you.
It's just so focused and you're so in the moment and you have to present a very particular thing. And I think the way you look on stage is so important. I like the whole picture to have been thought through.
I went to the trouble of changing into a different pair of pants. These are also Stella McCartney, eco-friendly, sustainable. These ones are pescatarian. They're made from ethically raised and butchered salmon. So if you get a funny smell during this half, it's not my menopause.
The show began during lockdown. I was trying to write a new comedy show about midlife. I knew there was a great meaty show in there, but it was going off in every direction and I couldn't find a centre. And it was you who walked into my office one day and wrote on the whiteboard how to get the menopause and enjoy it. And
Proving that old adage I made up, behind every great woman is a fair to middling man.
you know, I was resistant to that idea for a long time, even though I started researching it. It took me a few months to really commit to it. And then it was such a great thing. I think creatively, it's that old creative thing of when you give yourself tighter parameters, it helps the creativity. When everything's loose, you know, go in any direction. I had to really research it because I knew nothing about menopause. And then through researching it, I really found out how little I knew about menopause. I didn't know anything about, like, I knew, okay, your periods stop and you might have the odd hot flush, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the hormones involved and how the depletion of those hormones end up affecting everything in your body. And in the process of researching the show, I went on HRT. And not just for, it wasn't just symptom relief, it was for long-term health.
Long-term hormone deficiency. Isn't menopause only natural? Haven't women gone through the menopause since time immemorial? How in the hell did women manage in the past? Well, you think about the lives our foremothers had. They were having a baby a year. They were having 10 or 20 children. Jesus, by the time the menopause came along, they were probably going, this is like a holiday. And an added bonus, he's not going to go near me and I'm like a Brillo pad down there. Oh, I'd shred him.
There's one big symptom I had that really worried me, and I joke about, going for all these scans and nothing showing up, but I did. I genuinely thought that I had a brain tumour because I had such bad vertigo. And that is a menopausal symptom, and I didn't know that. And it's amazing to see women in the, as I talk about that in the show, to see women in the audience nodding and going, oh, and going through the same shock as me and going, oh yeah, I've got that.
I remember times walking down the street, I was just nearly falling over. Anybody else? That is caused by a fluctuation in your hormones that can, believe it or not, affect your inner ear. I didn't know that. I remember times in the street, I'd have to lean against the wall, thinking to myself, Jesus, this is more than the 10 gin and tonics I just had.
Women are going, yes, sister. They're going, yes, you're saying my experience. And the second thing is the going, oh, I didn't know that. I'm expressing the sense of shock that I went through discovering all these things that you'd think you should have known. And as I say them, people go, oh yeah.
Very funny, very real-like, and totally she gets the menopause. Really, really lucky. I'm a 52-year-old woman. I'm on my HRT journey for the last 5 years, but I know people who are not. And I just think anybody who's even thinking about HRT needs to see this show.
Knowing you're not alone and laughing about it and having so many women laugh about what we're going through, I mean, that just kind of says it all.
It's an interesting time for our generation of women because I guess we were used to, every generation is used to being the bee's knees, and I think our generation had it quite good in all sorts of ways culturally, and so we're not prepared to be sidelined. I think perhaps generations before, women were sidelined as they got older or they went into menopause, and it just wasn't talked about. It was good night, we're not interested in you, you're old. And that's not happening anymore, and my generation of women just won't accept that. This show is about the secret life of women. I frame it in this idea of menopause as reverse puberty, and then so I go back to the experience of my generation going through puberty and when we would have got our first periods and things we were told or not told, and the sanitary products that were available in the 70s and the attitude to tampons and everything. And I talk about all that, and I often think, God, if I was a man, I'd be interested in hearing all this stuff. Is the secret life of women, and that was always in the back of my mind. And then I did
see, men aren't even interested in the secret life of men. We don't want to know.
That's so interesting, because I would be, if a man did a show called The Secret Life of Men, I'd be,
no one would turn up.
I would be there.
The place would still be full of women.
Marco and Pat and Mystery Man in the corner. And look, I just want to say the menopause is a very inclusive condition. You don't have to get it to suffer from it.
I always find it exciting. I always try and get that energy of doing it for the first time. And I'm engaged with this idea of trying to do the perfect show, that every beat is right, that every joke lands, that I love the idea of getting the physical totally in tandem with the words. I remember seeing Jackie Mason in Vicar Street. And what I really liked about what he did was he had these lovely little movements. He had a real economy of movement, but it was totally in tandem with everything he was saying. And there was a dance around his delivery that was really gorgeous. And that's the kind of thing that only comes through years and years and years of doing stuff and finding that beautiful expression on stage. So I'm very engaged with that process at the moment. So no, I find every performance thrilling. I genuinely do. I just went, I'm going to be a full-time performer. One way or another, I've always been in front of an audience doing stuff one way or another for the last 35 years. And what that gives you is your body just automatically knows how it needs to modulate its energy to be just ready to burn. On stage, you burn on stage to hold an audience for the 2 hours. You know, it's kind of magic. I just always think it's about love and bringing everybody together, and the exchange of the energy is love, and just really honouring that people have made the effort to come out and paid and given this evening. I think when people go to the trouble and coming to see it and given that space and their attention, you better be amazing to deserve it. When it lands and you hear that laughter, oh my God. And then there's certain points in the show that I love. I love the whole scene where I go to the doctor and I'm talking about my symptoms and his response, and then I'm talking about being on antidepressants. I love that whole piece of material. It really makes me laugh. So I love going through that.
Why do you like it?
I think it's very funny and it's very true, and I haven't heard anybody else talk about that stuff, that women are just, there's this tendency to just tranquilize women. And it's very true and funny and original, I think, and I love the way it lands with the audience.
I don't know what's going on. I don't recognize myself. I feel like I'm losing my memory. I'm gaining weight. I'm tired all the time. I feel like I'm losing my memory. I'm sweating like a pig. My libido has gone completely flat. He said, "Oh, I didn't realise you played a musical instrument." I said, "I have no motivation. I have no concentration. I am aching all over. And I smell like a tomcat." And he said, "Oh, Anne, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, we don't have a cure for being a middle-aged lady. But," he said, "I can offer you some antidepressants." And I said, "Will they help?" And he said, "No. But you won't give a shit."
An average show day we're driving is, I always rest as much as possible, so get up at the last possible moment, pick up the rental car, pack everything. I have a whole rhythm around packing out my gig bag with everything there. It's all kind of, the whole day is all these steps of prep towards doing the show. And then get to the theatre in time to do a good sound check and I do a long vocal warm-up, and then I would just absolutely focus on the show. So I like to be in the theatre minimum 2 hours before the show. If the show is at 8, we sound check and start doing the lights at around 6 and take time to do that. And then I sing through all my songs to warm up and really get in the headspace. I like a long warm up and a long being in the space and getting into the energy of the space. And I do every show as if it's my first show.
important is your makeup application to your preparation?
Very important. It's because I've been doing this for so long, so many years, with the lulas and everything. It's a somatic or holistic body thing about getting ready. It's just body and mind united under the eyeliner. I wasn't making a penny, and at a certain point I thought, now I have to figure out how I'm going to make money with this, and comedy seemed the obvious thing. I absolutely love comedy and I love writing, and it was a brilliant combination of wanting to perform and writing and being funny. It's just my favourite thing, is being on stage. I just love it. I love being on stage. I love live work. I mean, it's not a job, it's a vocation. I've just always loved comedy, and to be able to make people laugh is absolutely brilliant. And in everything that I did, it was always, I just began to find serious drama a bit silly. I think it's doing the newness. I think the whole thing is just getting in character with the makeup. And it's just been ready. It's just all part of the ceremony of being ready to step on stage. So it's feeling like it's showtime.
Wow.
The leopard print started going into overdrive when I found this in Greece, and I thought, oh, that would go with this. Would that be too matchy? And then I got these in Luxembourg, and I thought, the look is just so over the top. While somehow not being totally parody, is there some level of, yeah, you could wear that.
But hasn't that always what's kind of evolved out of the way you dressed when we started the show? Was that you not to the level of farce?
Not to the level of farce. The look to begin with was just leather pants and boots and a big shirt, because I'm self-conscious of my belly, and I thought, well, the big shirt will do till I lose the weight, and then we'll look at more radical things. But of course the weight never gets lost, so the big shirt look remains, and then we work from there. I like to look like I've made some effort, People have made an effort to come out. I've made an effort to be stepping on the stage.
Please welcome to the stage the one and possibly only Anne Gildea.
Kind of brings together everything that I ever wanted to do. So I'm just delighted with myself. And later in the bedroom I was feeling a bit of a glow. I looked over at him, he'd gone out like a light. And I thought, oh, I'm off the hook tonight. I work with my partner Paul on the show on everything. We write together and tour together, and then he does all the technical stuff and puts everything together. And I'm actually talking to him now, and he's actually sitting there and asking me the questions, and we're arguing all the time about whether or not the questions are going to be in the documentary or where am I looking. And he's telling me, keep my head up, I'll be like that.
I mean, with the camera just didn't pay off at all.
Did it not?
So tell me more about him. He sounds great.